Thank you very much. Special thanks to Martin. It is a pleasure to be here. I will touch on some scientific aspects, but also some social advocacy aspects, because these aspects are interrelated. First of all, when we speak about healthy longevity, we first of all speak about intervention into aging, as some speaker told us earlier, because aging is the thing that shortens our lifespan the most, that brings most disease. And if we really want to extend our healthy longevity, we have to intervene into aging. And with the COVID crisis, this becomes even more clear. We see that the mortality and the morbidity mostly affects elderly people. So if we really want to combat this crisis and some possible future crises that affect the elderly, we have to learn to therapeutically intervene into aging. It is absolutely possible and feasible to intervene into aging. Many proofs of principle in animal models and in human trials exist. Here are some of the classifications, the hallmarks of aging, the pillars of aging, the earlier sense classification, strategies for engineered negligible senescence of Dr. De Grey. All these point certain basic aging processes, and there are proofs of principle that it's possible to intervene in these processes and extend healthy life in animal models, and there are some human trials. So it is our goal as advocates, as longevity research advocates, to bring these trials as soon as possible to human use. But also, apart from the therapies, it is very important to develop measurements of aging, the so-called biomarkers of aging. You cannot treat something that you cannot diagnose. So it is really imperative to develop reliable biomarkers or measurements of the aging process as a determinant of health. I myself a little bit involved in research, both on the side of therapy and on the side of diagnosis. For example, about a year ago, together with Chinese colleagues, we published a research that showed that mesenchymal stem cells, transplantation of mesenchymal stem cells can improve outcome in COVID patients. And how is this related to aging? Mortality from COVID is mainly determined by acute is also a very basic process in aging, the so-called inflammaging. So here you see the connection between aging and disease. It is basically the same process that both affects aging and disease. So if you are able to mitigate aging process with such a known anti-aging means as mesenchymal stem cells, you will also be able to improve disease. And also on the side of diagnosis, together with my colleague, Dr. David Bloch, we attempt to develop some biomarkers, some measurements of aging based on information theory. I'm mainly involved in biological interpretation. He is mainly the mathematician behind the project. And we attempt to develop some information theory-based measures based on normalized mutual information for multimorbidity, for biological age. It is important to look and diagnose aging as a whole, to look at the aging-related ill health as a whole, not at any specific disease or symptom. But that's just a couple of our projects. We do our part, but of course, aging research is a global issue, is a global program that we need to involve as many people as possible. The economic benefits will be enormous. It was calculated for the United States that the benefit from intervention into aging, from extension of healthy longevity, even by a year or two, postponement of aging will bring hundreds of billions of dollars revenue in the next couple of decades. So it is really important for the economy, for the social fabric, but also for every one of us who wants to live longer and healthier. So we really must support and invest in aging research. Who should be involved? Who should support this research? Who will benefit from it? Basically, everybody: general public, pharmaceutical, medical technology industry, health insurance, regulators, scientists, and students. All should realize how important it is to intervene into degenerative aging to extend their life, and accordingly to invest human and material resources into the solution of this problem. as a society, how do we advance it? Of course, there are scientists, there are labs, and they're doing their job. But as a society, how we can support this effort? As with any social issue that we feel is important, also extension of health longevity, also improvement of the aging process is a social issue. So we should support it as a society. And how we do it, as with any social cause, we build up a movement, we increase education, advocacy, activism. I'm only a part-time researcher, let's say, but I'm also an activist for the longevity movement. And in the last part of my talk, I will outline some of the advocacy issues in this regard. First of all, we can do advocacy for health longevity research at any level, from the international level, influencing international policy documents. I will bring some examples where this was accomplished even by our organizations a little later. At the national level, by suggesting sets of policy recommendations to decision makers about the ways to improve aging research, for example, improving the funding, improving incentives, increasing education in the field. Also, the main unit of advocacy, the main stronghold of any advocacy in any country is an individual, as a separate non-profit organization, non-governmental organization, like the Society for Vital Life Extension in Slovenia, like Israeli Longevity Alliance here in Israel. And what we do, we really try to bring this issue to decision makers, but also general public, to educate people, to communicate, to support this field. That is something that needs to be done in every country. And also, even without waiting for the governments to take on this agenda, even without, this topic becoming the global priority, every one of us can contribute. Every one of us can do one's own part by researching the topic, getting in touch with people, communicating, participating in research, volunteering, and just practicing a healthy lifestyle to improve one's chances to benefit from healthy life extended technology when they are available. I hope by now it is important, it is realized both how important the issue of improving the aging process is, and also some of the methods to advance the field are clear. Now, are there any results from these activities, from this advocacy? It is too early to tell. The field of longevity advocacy is very young, probably 10 years that it is more or less on the social radar, but there are already some examples that can be quoted, and we need many more of such examples. These are some of the examples of actions where I was involved. For example, about 15 years ago, I was one of the co-signers of the longevity dividend petition led by Professor Olshansky. Since then, we also published some position papers on for example, on the critical need to promote research of aging. Every year in October, we organize the Global Longevity Month campaign to increase public awareness about longevity research. In 2019, we organized a series of conferences also here in Israel about neuroscience. So it is important, to advance this agenda on every level, in every possible way, through position papers, through conferences, through publications, through meetings like this. And there are already some results. For example, in 2017, we were able to create a public campaign to include aging into the WHO work process. Can you imagine? It was the work program of WHO before that, and hundreds of organizations, hundreds of individuals wrote to the WHO and demanded that it is included, and it was eventually included for the first time, with specific goals for improving the health of the elderly. So we need much more of such efforts, both on the national and international level. Also, our organization, the International Longevity Alliance, was successful in introducing aging as a modifier into the ICD, into the International Classification of Diseases. Also very important to recognize aging as an issue that needs to be tackled. At the national level here in Israel, we also do our part in advocacy. We organized some discussions in Knesset and Israeli parliament about the need to enhance research, development, and education for the promotion of health, longevity, and prevention of aging-related diseases. This topic was actually included into the National Master Plan on Aging for Israel. Thanks to our advocacy, there were issued some calls for research proposals that stimulated the entire field in Israel, such as calls for research proposal of the Ministry of Science in Israel, also a binational call for research proposals between the UK and Israel, the so-called Biomarkers Aging, Britain, Israel Research and Academic Exchange on Aging. And this model can be adopted everywhere, for example, between Israel and Slovenia, or between Slovenia and any other European or a Western country. It is a very successful model that involves scientists in cooperation from several countries. And also the model of a call for research proposals is not supporting some a particular project, but it allows us to stimulate the entire field. And we hope we continue our advocacy. You know, in Israel, we had about 4 elections in 2 years. So the politicians are not very involved in this issue. But hopefully, after the next election in 2 weeks, we will continue our advocacy for the advancement of the field. And once again, I thank you for this opportunity to raise this topic together and cooperate.